Welcome everyone to Miami. I am super pumped to be here. I hope all of you are. We had a blast last night. Purely convinced I cannot cancel karaoke. I get it. I'm sorry I even suggested it at some point that we should try something different. No, it is a tradition. It will continue, and you all are absolutely amazing at it. So there's a lot to talk about. And first and foremost, I'm going to do something a little different. Usually, this is like the last slide. Thank you and whatnot. But it sometimes comes off as a formality. I really want to genuinely thank every single one of you. Honestly, we're in Miami because of all of your efforts. And this is why we're always trying to look at what can we do more? What can we do more for the community? And what can we do more for all of you as leaders who work so closely with the community? We have to remind ourselves, and at Google we keep telling execs and everyone that all of you leaders, it's a volunteer. This is all something you do on top of taking care of family, on top of your jobs, on top of all these other commitments you have. And North America especially, we lead in terms of engagement. We're leading in terms of number of chapters and so on and so forth because of all of your efforts. So a genuine thank you from all of us from the North America team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I also, I mentioned this yesterday, but I just got back this week. So I've been out for a while, and so therefore I really need to thank my team. The North America team has done an amazing job, and they've just been working tirelessly, trying to figure this out, make sure all the logistics work. And when you're trying to plan something like this, there's a lot, and all of you know the challenges that come with this, so I'm not going to go over all that. But they've been really pulling everything that they can to make this happen, and I'm really grateful for them. So thank you to my entire team. Who is on the team? And so I want to talk about the team as well, to kind of go through it, to say everyone knows who they can go out to, who can they reach out to, and who's the point of contact for what. Kyle, I believe we all know Kyle, right? We all know Kyle and everything that he does. As the regional lead for North America, really anything that you're trying to get done out of the ordinary, whether it's from a budget perspective, sponsoring perspective, can we actually pull this event off? Does this align with everything we want to do? Regional lead, Kyle is your man. We also have Amit, and not everyone knows Amit. Amit is over there in the corner. He is running our enterprise community. And so running our enterprise community efforts, there's a lot of interesting things we're doing in this space. So how we have Gdg communities, and we're working with the communities at large, enterprises also have their needs and also have a lot of things that they're trying to sort out and figure out. If we can help them, we can build out a program. If you have ideas on that, Amit would be the person to talk to on that. We also all know, there it is, Kubra. As a community manager, she is your primary point of contact for anything related to your events, to Gdg specific. I just lost my screen here. All right, to continue. Madhusha. Madhusha, he is based out of, he's back over there as well. GDE, so anything to do with GDE, he's the person to talk to, but also we're actually trying some new initiatives in North America. Again, remember, North America ends up being a bit of a pioneer when it comes to new programs or different flavor of existing programs. So as we're trying DSC, Developer Student Clubs, similar to GDG program, but targeted to students. As we try more startup initiatives, Madhusha is actually investigating a lot of that and working through how we can potentially do that. Now, one of the newer members to the team was Gayatri. She was up here earlier. Gayatri, everyone should know where she is. Gdg Cloud Communities. There's such a huge effort and there's a huge need for cloud-focused community work that we realized that we needed to do a little bit of a carve-out from our overall Gdg. It's all still part of the Gdg family, so everyone's here right now. But we wanted to make sure that we have a focused effort as well on Gdg Cloud Communities, so Gayatri's actually taking care of that. And then we have Carly. This is the newest addition to our team. Carly's the magician. She's the event manager for our team to kind of make all this happen. So if you want to thank anyone for your room, the hotel, all the logistics, she's the one to thank. Yeah. Now, the North America team, the overall developer relations team, and kind of all of Google, when we start thinking about what are we doing, why do we do this, I thought that this was really powerful, and I wanted to share this with all of you. And I'm actually going to read it out. We put developers first. We make all developers successful, inspire them with the possibilities of Google technology, and drive the excellence and adoption of all Google developer products. Do we not? There it is. There's a few things I want to call out here. First of all developers. Developers kind of the taxonomy that we use, but in reality, it's all technical practitioners. So we're talking UX designers, we're talking tech writers, we're talking database support, all across the spectrum. And so sometimes people are like, well, this program's really meant just for a developer who's programming. No, that's not true. We're really looking at all developers. And when we talk about inspire, we're really talking about stories. And this is something that we're going to be focusing on a little bit more on, is what are those great stories? And what's that impact that you have in your communities? And how can we use those stories to get more people interested in the community, more people just aware of what's going on? We had some great stories coming on all the time, and now we're building a little bit more of a platform. We're going to be more intentional on sharing these stories, collecting these stories and sharing them, and magnifying the reach that these stories have. And yes, I mean, some people are like, okay, well, what's in it for Google sometimes? I get this question when I go to speak. It's like, well, what's in it for Google? What's Google doing here? They're kind of giving a lot of money. We're doing what we want. Because remember, it's a community program, meaning you control it. You, as leaders, say, this is what my community needs. Accordingly, we provide content, if that's what makes sense, or accordingly not. Sometimes there are communities out here, there are GDG groups that have had people from Amazon speak. They've had people from Apple speak. We're completely fine with that. You've identified that there's a need there. If you have that, that's okay. We talk about Google technologies, obviously, but at the core of everything is what do developers need and what makes sense for developers, what makes sense for your communities, and we rely on all of you to assess that. So 2018, we had a really good 2018 and really impactful 2018. And when we think about all the things that we're constantly doing, sometimes it becomes repetitive. As you can imagine, okay, we have a DevFest every year. We're always talking about growth. We're always doing that. 2018, we actually broke a lot of records, which was great. Again, a testament to this group over here. I'm going to go through some of the growth numbers. So our Gdg chapters grew by 47%. Is that visible? Yeah, it is. 47%, just our Gdg chapters. And there's a lot of new folks here. These are the new chapters that came in 2018. And so a huge welcome to all the new organizers here. Similarly, when we look at our cloud chapters, now it was a pretty small at the end of 2017, so when I say 210% increase, you get it. So we have 28 altogether. But again, this is significant. So again, a huge welcome to the cloud chapters. And you can look at the third name, Cloud Miami. We jumped on that right away. We're like, oh, we have one in Miami. Perfect, next stop. Also, I wanted to highlight some of the other programs. So GDEs, we had growth, 78%. Our WTM leads, again, in 2018, we called it leads. It's ambassador now, 58%. Again, a huge achievement. So continuing with the theme of thanking everyone, thank you. I wanted to show this next slide. So this was at the end of 2017, the Gdg chapters. And once we got the new ones in 2018, there it is. This is what it looks like. Now, this is great. This is really nice. Except if you notice the mountain region, Midwest, we don't have a lot of coverage there. So one of the main things, and this is something that I've tasked Kyle with, is we need to go to some of these underserved regions. So mountain, Midwest, and Canada as well. We have a few in the lower southern parts of Canada. We need to get more. And so how do we do that? We can't just say, okay, we need to get more chapters. Let's get chapters for the sake of getting chapters. We have to engage with them more. So I also ask everyone here, if you know folks in that region, in any of those regions, there are developers there. There are technical practitioners. We need to find a way to connect with them. We need to find a way to help them and build communities. And so this is going to be something that the mentors are going to be helping with. Like I said, Kyle's targeted with this as well. So something we're going to continue growing. Because what I'd like to see is I'd like to see full coverage. Sure, we have great numbers. North America is a huge place too. So it makes sense. And let's call a spade a spade. We know we have great numbers because we have the size, we have the population and whatnot. But when I look at this, I'm still concerned that we need to do better. And so that's something that we're going to look on. We're going to try to figure out. And this is really, Google's issue. Let's figure it out. And I'm actually asking the community as well, that how do we work and solve this as a community? When we look at DevFest 2018, what were the numbers? This is where I was talking about breaking all records. We had 52 DevFests this year. That was the highest number of DevFests. So thank you. We've reached over 10,000 people, which is even more important. Our DevFests ranged from the size of 900 to 1,000 people to as small as 15 people. And that's perfectly okay. That's one thing that we were actually very focused on sharing with everyone, that the size of your DevFest, when people heard DevFest, they were very intimidated. Oh, it's a really big event. It doesn't have to be. Again, what makes sense for the community? What type of time can you afford? Let's go ahead and do that. So really happy with these numbers as well. Now, the theme of the rest of my talk is going to be around feedback. And what does that mean? What do we do with it? Why are we collecting it? A little bit more, and then what is some of the impact of the feedback that you have received? And so right off the bat, when we talk about product feedback, our team, the developer ecosystem team, is in a very unique position at Google. We all understand how large Google is, how large Alphabet is. Well, this team actually has our hands with all the different product teams. And what does that mean? That means that when you are doing a study jam, when you are talking about a certain technology, and with your community, you're getting feedback on, this just doesn't work. This doesn't actually solve my problem. Or why is this so difficult to do X, Y, or Z, or Z? The Canadian in me came out there. And so when we get feedback, it's really important for all of you to actually share that back with us. And we really, want it, but the best and the most important thing is we can do something with it. We can talk to the product teams directly. And I can assure you all that there's been a lot of feedback that has come from our Gdg community that has directly impacted the roadmap of a lot of our products. And to be part of a community that can do that is extremely significant. And so I'm saying this and I'm sharing this because I would like that to continue. I'd like everyone to understand the importance of this. When we send out these surveys, yes, there's a lot of other pieces to the survey, but there's a lot about, okay, the technology, was this useful? Because if it's not useful, we're going to stop. And Google's really good at this. Google's really good at acknowledging and recognizing, yeah, this doesn't work. And we move on. Right, yeah. I think there's a lot that we can name. Now, there's product feedback. There's also operational feedback. We want to know feedback of how are we running the program? Whether it's the global programs across the board, whether it's how we set up reimbursement process, our funding, our sponsorship process, whatever we do to help and enable you, if there's an issue there, if there's any concerns, let us know. And I genuinely say this again, the good, bad, the ugly. Let us know it all. Now, when you give feedback, there's a bit of a loop. So you've provided feedback, now what? I can, with a straight face, stand up here and say, we don't do a great job of this. And we've heard this feedback on our process of collecting feedback, of when we share feedback, we don't know where it goes. We don't know what it does. We don't know what the action item is from there. And that's something for us to take and fix. Because we need to do a better job of not only taking it, but letting you know, okay, A, this is what we heard. B, this is who we're going to send it to. C, this is how we assessed it. And then finally, okay, this was the final outcome. And even if that means, thanks for the feedback, we decide to go a different way. Or thanks, and this is how we decide to integrate this feedback back into our products, our process, our procedures, or anything. So we need to do a better job of that. And so right off the bat, this summit is a great example of an action item we took from last year's summit and taking a lot of the feedback that was received on updating what we're going to do this year. And it all starts with, and this is why we didn't talk about this earlier to start off, is the agenda. If you just look at the agenda itself, you can see we start off with a few introductory things, and then right off the bat, after our break, we go into programs. A lot of folks shared with us that they want to know more about all the different programs. They want actually the program owners to be here so they can ask the direct questions. So we have that. We have GDG, WT ambassadors, GDE representatives here, and we're going to talk about this program. We're going to spend time. Not only are we going to spend time talking about it, after lunch, we're going to have a panel with all the program leads up here as well. So that way you can ask your questions. We can have an open conversation about the program. Wait, why are you doing this for DevFest this year? Why are you doing this for GDG? What is this new news I've heard about X, Y, or Z? I say that a lot. But we also heard we are in a position to speak in front of people, and it is really out of our comfort zone for some folks. And so in that situation, we made sure that we have the entire afternoon for public speaking. So anyone who's at GDE here, we had some great speakers in Waterloo. And we got a lot of feedback on, like, you know what, can we get support to actually get training from these guys because they were just so powerful. We actually brought them over here as well. So we brought them here, and they're going to break down into a bunch of different sessions of how to organize a speech. But this, again, is a result of feedback we received. Day 2, another piece of feedback that we received was, we want to hear from the community. Okay, great. I run my program in this community. I know what I'm doing for this community. Okay, I also have these regional hangouts that I try to attend, so I have a better assessment and understanding of what's going on in the region. Well, what's going on across North America? We don't know. And what if people learn? What are some of the... It's not always Google standing up and saying, okay, this is how to do things. We don't have all the answers. We don't necessarily have the best way of doing it either. But you as a community do. And so hearing from the community, okay, this is what worked in my community. This is how I solved X. This is how I solved this problem. I mean, I'm overdoing it now. And that's really important. And so if that's really important, we got to make sure that we hear from the community. So as you can see in day 2, we have a lot from the community. But we also have product talks. And we've actually segmented it into cloud talks. So you actually see with Martin, Paige, and Sarah, they're going to be coming up. They're going to be talking about different elements on the cloud side. A lot of folks wanted to hear about products, but they also wanted it, okay, I wanted to have a dedicated time for it. Because when it's spread out the day, I don't know when I want to attend, when not. So we did that. We grouped it together. This was an example of something we did with the feedback. Another piece of feedback we received. Well, we go to a lot of events, and yes, we hear a lot from the community, let's say. We want to see more Googlers. We want to hear from more Googlers. And we want to understand, what's Google doing? What's the next thing? So this year, you can see, we actually have, aside from the North America team, a lot of Googlers present. Now, again, let's call a spade a spade. It's not the hardest thing to do when you say it's Miami. But it's true. They're here. And it's really important. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good spread of Google representation here as well. I do want to make one call out here. Anna, who's actually sitting in the front, Anna Baxter, she's here. And of all the Googlers here, she's actually the most senior Googler here. And what that means is she's very interested in what this community does. So if you ever find some time, please reach out to her. Please go to her. Share your story. This is what I'm doing. This is the impact. This is how long I'm doing. This is what motivated me to do this. And then also share, this is what's broken. Sure, Google's doing a great job here, but this doesn't work. You need to change X, Y, Z. Help us. She would love to hear that type of information. Just getting that feedback from all of you. Again, when we talk about North America gets a lot of spotlight of, we're doing a lot of things really well. We also are doing a lot of things that need to be fixed and done better. She would love to hear that. So please find some time and share that with her. Now, when I was talking about feedback, I said that's going to be a bit of a theme. This is something new. A lot of people don't know what this is. There are a lot of new chapters that came in 2018. And one of the things that happened was, and this was actually from the new chapter Gdg Mississauga, where they ran a cloud study jam. and Ash was in the back over there, he shared this feedback that this was my first event. And it was great that, I got on, I signed, I was onboarded and whatnot, but then I felt like I was kind of on my own. Now, we have to do a better job of kind of sharing the resources of what's out there to help you. But more than that, it was like when things didn't work or when I couldn't get the code to work or Study Jam overall to work, I wasn't sure where to go. And we realized, and it sounds very basic, we do a lot of these GDG events or summits. But for a lot of folks, it's not your first rodeo. You've been doing this for a while. So what we end up doing is we get into this like upskilling mentality of kind of like, how do we take where you're at and take you further? But we need to take a step back to also say, well, there's a lot of people. 2018, we saw how many new chapters that came on board. We need to spend some time to talk to the new chapters of some of the basics, some of the fundamentals, some of the elementary. And so what we decided to do is we've actually decided to create a program and ultimately an event that we're going to be focused just for new chapters. And so when we call it Gdg Academy, we're looking to have it once or twice a year. And ultimately, it's an event similar to this, smaller in size, purely for the new chapters that have joined the last 6 months. So what's the idea? Bring new Gdg organizers together. Provide training, community growth insights. And then really hands-on workshop with our mentors. I'm going to talk about our mentor program in a little bit, but really get the mentors, the people in your region that have been doing this for a while, that have experience and can help and really can be your, and this is why we call them, your mentor. They can actually help you in achieving your goals and really taking what you're doing and helping you and guiding you to the next step. And what it also does is it actually also allows us to ensure that events like this end up being about upskilling. Because if we had half our day or if we had one entire day of all the introductory stuff, for a lot of people this isn't their first rodeo again, it's going to get boring. So to have that split, to make sure the resources are there, to do a better job at onboarding, we hear you, we took the feedback, and we're happy to kind of make progress on that. Oh, July 13th. Yes, July 13th is going to be the one for this year. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I'm really excited about the fact that we actually have time frames for all our events now. It's really, really cool. DevFest 2019. So I'm going to forewarn you right now. I'm going to do a very high-level view of this. And Jen is going to be talking later on about Gdg as a whole, and she'll talk a little bit more detail about DevFest and some of the things, why we're doing and whatnot. The biggest piece was the season itself. So we're really good at taking feedback. So last year at the summit, there was a question, why have a season? Why have it in 4 or 5 month span? We should be able to do it when we want to do it. And this is probably me putting my foot in my mouth. I'm like, yes, done, no season. Fine. I got my wrist slapped for that and realized, no, you can't do that. And let's not do that. And what we want to do now is say, okay, let's be very transparent about this. And we're talking about this right now, as opposed to closer to this DevFest season. We're talking about this right now, that the 2019 season is going to be only 3 months. September, October, November. Now, to a lot, that's a big blow right away, because I understand what the need was and why there was questions about doing it in a different period of time. To solve some of those issues, for example, well, it's hard to get speakers. It's hard to get sponsorship. It's hard to get a number of things because of the time frame. Whether it's Q4, Q4 is always already bad because everyone's already spent their budget, they're being careful, or in some cases, well, they have a little bit of a surplus, we don't know what to do with this, so we can take advantage of it. There's all sorts of stories on that. But what we've done is, and again, Jen will talk more about this, we actually had this focused effort so that way we can actually make sure we can solve some of those problems. And she'll go into more detail how, but I'm not done. So this is the season when I say global season. Within the global season, we've also decided to fragment when each region is going to have their season. And so that means for North America, our season is September. So we have 1 month as our season. I know how aggressive that is. I'm well aware. And I was talking about all this feedback, and I made sure to use the example. Sometimes we're going to take your feedback and still go a different direction. And that's slightly what happened here, but for good purpose. And this is where it's going to be, when Jen's going to talk about it, she'll give you more details, but there'll also be a Q&A period so you can share your concerns, your frustrations, or you know what, this makes sense. This makes a lot of sense, actually. I get why they're doing this. And some of the problems, just like a quick thing, we want to make sure that the Googlers are available again. So having focus on region, because there's like certain number of, let's say, DAs out there, but they're traveling all over the place. And so having a little bit more focus makes it easier to kind of tap into that. Now, after I've shared this and everyone's already giving me the look of death, I want to share more. So,
please don't tell me it's 500 in the United States and 500.
Right, yeah. No. When I say share more, now I'm going to get into there's some hopefully better news. We are North America. We recognize how large it is and the challenges that come with it. So we are not going to say, no, you cannot do it outside of the season. We acknowledge that there will be situations, there will be circumstances that folks will have to do it outside of the season. This all comes back to, we're here for the community. We're here for the community. What makes sense for the community? This is our plan. We're going to explain and try to sell you on the idea why. But if you do have to do it outside of the season, we're going to accept it. The caveat to that, though, is the way we're going to, how we're going to do the funding. People are kind of guessing this already. So if you do it in September, we've increased the budget to $30 an attendee. Okay? Should have probably started with the worst news, but all right. So drop the good one on that one. So if you are within the season, the overall global season, it's $20 attendee. You can do it for the rest of the year. However, the funding drops. This is called motivation. All right. So of course, we really want everyone to kind of bring it in September and just to have a really big punch with it. But we understand requirements and situations arise. So if you need to go out, we're happy to help in that and allow that to continue.
One DevFest per chapter per year?
Oh, there's no limit about one DevFest. If you plan to do 2 in the season, great. We do have some, and we have some chapters that do this already. They have multiple DevFests, and that's okay as well. Just talk to us about it, because it's sometimes out of the norm a little. We just want to have a heads up on it and figure out what we can do. But if you want to do multiple DevFests, absolutely. The community is big enough, it makes sense, or you could be completely focused on different things. One DevFest is focused on technology A, one DevFest is focused on technology B. Completely understandable. Mentor program. So I was mentioning this earlier about North America being pioneers. This is a great example of something that we started in North America, and we hear a lot from other regions saying, tell me more about this mentor program. How does this work? Why are you doing this? What's the motivation behind it? What's the secret sauce behind it? How does this make your lives easier? And I wanted to make sure to kind of everyone is on the same page as to what is the mentor program and why do we have this. And just to start off right off the bat, we established this 5, 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, and it has helped immensely. Ultimately, these are individuals who are all Gdg organizers that have proven success in what they do, and we're going to go through eligibility of how to become a mentor. But as a result, they're representative of the community, and we engage with them regularly. We're going to launch something new. Mentors, what do you think about this? Does this make sense? Do you think the community will appreciate this? We were thinking of doing even an event in this city. Does that work, or should we think about another city? How do we solve this problem about not having enough coverage in some of these regions like Midwest Mountain Canada? And so having mentors to kind of bounce ideas off of is really helpful to us because, again, and you probably hear this all the time, this is a community program. So we want to make sure that Google is not sitting in a silo making these decisions and coming up with the next things. We actually want mentors representation that represent the community. That's one side of it. There's also this other side of it that, well, as community members, you don't always have all the answers. You can use the mentors as a sounding board as well and talk to the mentors about, okay, this is what I was thinking, or this is the challenge I'm having. Like, no, I can never figure out how much food to order. What have you done about this? And so the mentor program for us is all about scalability. It's helping you solve problems in scale. It's helping us solve problems at scale as well. So when it comes to mentors, when we think about mentoring, there's a lot of pieces to this, right? There's a lot of pieces, and some people are like, well, what's their responsibility? What do they need to do? And this image kind of does good justice to it. But I really like to use the example of mentors is almost the bridge from Google to the community as well. We engage one-on-one with a lot of the community leaders like yourselves a lot, but having the mentors there, it's a little bit more regular. So we have bi-weekly meetings with the mentors, and then we ask our mentors to have monthly regional hangouts as well. So that way you're all engaged. And you're working through, okay, so this is what Google discussed, this is what they were thinking, and move on from that. And this is, if you have advice, if you had feedback, if you have suggestions, let the mentors know so that way they can bring it back to Google. We really like sometimes, because when we get one-of questions that come our way, it's like, you know what, we're gonna, and don't take this the wrong way. Sometimes if there's some questions that come to Cubra or someone else on the team, we may say, great question, we're adding your mentor, and this is how we see it. But now you can carry the conversation on with your mentor because they can give you a little bit more of that one-on-one support. And really, they know the region best. So a mentor in a specific region knows, okay, yeah, well, this is a whole different ballgame than what they're dealing with in Pacific if they're talking about Northeast. And we have these challenges, so let's address those challenges. So mentors do a great job of that. So quickly on eligibility for the program to become a mentor. Minimum 3 years as a GDG organizer, and I'm going to highlight in an active chapter. And it's important for that. If the chapter hasn't been doing a lot or whatnot, then it doesn't really make sense. We want it to be something that they have been doing a lot, they've been continuously pushing on this, because then they know how to solve the problems. They are living it themselves. They've at least organized one DevFest. Because of the big impact that we have with DevFest, and because of how much attention and marketing and whatnot comes with DevFest, we want to make sure that the mentor is familiar with running a DevFest. Of course, this goes without saying. I think this is one of those, everyone should be a good organizer and have good communication skills if you're in a position to help other people as well. This is interesting, and this is very true. As I mentioned earlier, you all have other jobs, you all have family, you all have other commitments, responsibilities, and then you're doing a volunteer work to help your community. And now we're saying on top of that, we want you to help other communities. So for a mentor, they need to have the bandwidth. There needs to be an interest, obviously, but also the bandwidth to do something like that. Because like I said, we meet bi-weekly. And so we're talking, and then we're asking them to actually have hangouts. And then all of a sudden, you're sharing their contact with the rest of the region to say, hey, if you have a question, come reach out to me. There's a lot there. And there's another one. Yeah, obviously familiarity with the region. This goes without saying. If you notice, as we kind of shifted a little bit and we made some changes, and I know we have to talk about voting and all that stuff as well, with the eligibility, we wanted it to be a little bit more focused as well. We didn't want it to be wider acceptance. We wanted it to be like, no, we really want folks that can make a difference. And that's really important. Like having the time, having the knowledge, having the skill set is really important for us as mentors because we work with mentors so closely, because the community needs mentors. We're talking about new chapters. If a new chapter just came on and they want to ask a mentor a question, and the mentor's like, yeah, I'm going to have to get back to you like a month later, or I'm going to have to get back to you, or I'm not sure. That's not a good experience. And so this is why we were very focused on what the eligibility was. As a result, and when we sent out the nominations for new mentors and whatnot, we didn't get a lot because they realized, actually, I don't need all this. By being more transparent, and that's something that we're going to continue to do, be a little bit more transparent. I'm also going to talk about where we messed up and we weren't so transparent on certain things and explain that. But before I get into that, I already said everything about how challenging and how much is on a mentor to do. I really want to take some time and thank our mentors for the last 2 years. Really, they've done an amazing job. We had a lot of mentors for different reasons, whether it's personal, professional, or so. We had some mentors who had to switch out, and they asked, can we kindly step down? So we had other mentors come in, and some of these switches happened later in the year. We're like, okay, we're not going to replace with a mentor. We're actually just going to have a clean slate when we come in at this point. And so voting. So what we did was we sent out our eligibility criteria. We have set up a website, and then we sent out, hey, if you're interested, nominate yourself. If you know someone else who'd be interested, go ahead and nominate them. And we got a bunch of names. Now, some people are like, so what happened then? Well, in some cases, following the eligibility criteria, some people that were nominated, they didn't fit. It was we understand they were not because people are like, there's a great person, they're really good, they're really helpful, great, but we wanted to stick to the core principle of you have to meet these requirements. And so in certain regions, when we actually did the filtering, there were only 2 people that ended up being nominated. So we were like, okay, this works. We don't need to vote. These are going to be the 2 mentors in this region. In some other regions, we actually had, there were 4 to 5 to 6 people that actually meet the eligibility criteria. So there was voting happening only in that region. And so therefore, not everyone heard that there was any sort of voting happening. It just happened within the region where we had more than 2 mentors. Does that make sense? Okay. And so this is why we were answering some questions like, well, what happened to voting? Why didn't you have a voter? What's going on? This is still a decision that was based on the community and what the community wanted to do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to introduce our new mentors. And the goal of introducing the new mentors, obviously give them some spotlight, but more than that is I would like everyone in the region to spend time with their mentors, to go over and spend time with their mentor. We were looking at Agenda Day 2. I didn't highlight this. One of the other pieces of feedback we got was we want to spend more time with our region. Last year, we had a 2-hour talk with the region, and the mentors were leading that conversation about challenges and how to solve them and so on. And they wanted to do more of that. That's what the summit's all about. We're all here together. Let's work together. Let's find synergies in everything we do and go from there. And so we wanted to make sure in the first talk that we call out who the mentors are. The pictures will be there. If you want to stand, do a little dance, by all means, do it. And then for the rest of you, find your mentors. Spend some time with them. So starting off with Canada, Laurence and Greg are our new mentors. Greg, Laurence, there you go. Thank you, thank you. Midwest, Dan and Patrick. Patrick right there. And Dan's going to join us tomorrow. You would have known if he was here. He would have been the one doing the dance up here, for sure. So he'll be here tomorrow. So spend some time with Patrick and Dan in Midwest. Northeast, Ava and Pete. Ava and Pete. Pacific, we have Matt and Michael. Matt, Michael. Mountain, we have Cassidy and Sheldon. Are they just not standing? Oh, there, okay, there it is, thank you. There they are, they're both over there. In South, Hendricks and Tim. Tim and Hendricks, there he is. We also have WTM ambassadors, Stacy and Rio, right here. Those are our mentors. Please go reach out to them, engage with them, ask them questions. If anyone has more questions about or wants to discuss a little bit more about the mentorship program of us having GDG mentors, or anyone wants to ask about a little bit more about the process that we followed, when I mentioned that we weren't fully transparent, what I just shared right now, I don't think everyone knew that. And that's on us. We wanted to do this quickly so we can actually have it all set and ready for this event. And this is why we realized we got to do the vote quickly. We kind of asked for nominations. A week later, figured out what we need to do. A week later, we're like, okay, this is how it's going to go. And now let's do the vote. And that's it. So we weren't fully transparent. So there was some confusion. Wait, what's going on? And everyone wanted to know a little bit, like, is this what we think it is or is it not? Our apologies on that. We're going to do a better job on that moving forward. Promise. Now, we talked about a lot of the things that we've done, a lot of the options that you have. Gdg Resources, we threw this slide in here to make sure that everyone's aware of all the different channels we have, whether it's of communication or of to get information. We have our website. We have our Slack channel. We have a mailing list. We also have mentors, so reaching out to mentors themselves. And then, of course, we have the mentors communication as well. So mentors Some mentors send out newsletters regularly that, hey, these are all the new and greatest and latest that's happening in our region. No, hey, did you know that there was this DevFest happening there? Or they ran this study jam and this person showed up. So there's communications that are being sent out by the mentors as well. There's an argument that could be said we have too many communication channels. I agree. I do agree. I get it. And when each time we try to streamline that, each time we try to say, okay, let's stick to one, we had a lot of people who were like, no, but I prefer this. And again, we wanted to make sure we provide to the community that, okay, if you prefer Slack, or no, I prefer a website. I actually prefer just using a mailing list. I like my email. That's my inbox is where I live. So if it comes in my email, I'll see it. If it goes anywhere else, I won't. That's actually kind of how I am. If it's in my inbox, it'll get my attention. Most of the times. Now, another thing that I am actually really proud of with the North America team is we took feedback. We're like, you guys hardly gave us a heads up on what is happening when. We're trying to plan travel. We're trying to plan vacations. We're trying to plan when to take time off or when we can expect to hear more about certain activity or whatnot. So in December last year, we actually spent time. We actually locked ourselves in a room to say, okay, what are all the things that we do? We know that. We spend a lot of time on all these different events. What are all the events? Can we not just sit down here and figure out when we're going to do them right now, as opposed to a couple of months before, and then share out the communication? It decreases that lag time of all the planning that needs to go into it. So we've actually done that. We actually have our calendar for 2019 all set into when what event is happening. So if we start, we'll kick off with Q2. We're at our summit right now. Woohoo! We know we have Cloud Next, and then we're going to have the Cloud Next extended season. So this is all quarter by quarter. We have our global GDG Summit, again, that's tied with I/O. And then we have I/O extended. All that's going to happen in quarter 2. We actually have specific dates as well, and we're going to send that afterwards. We're going to send that after the summit pretty much, of like, here's the dates that we have locked down. In some cases, we may say it's going to happen in the second week of this month, if we don't have the exact date. But we know this is happening this quarter. Here are the months and times and whatnot. Q3, we know when we're going to have our North America GDE Summit. I can tell you right now, we had a great time in Waterloo last year for the GDE Summit. We're actually going to do it in Toronto this year. Again, the date and time and whatnot, we're going to share that. We spoke about the Gdg Academy. So for any Gdg organizer that's joined in the last 6 months, or pretty much has been new since we've done our last summit, let's say. Yeah, that makes sense. For the first one, so that way we can actually get everyone covered. That if you're new, we're going to have this academy specifically for you. We had last year a machine learning and AI summit in Cambridge, and it was a huge success. We actually saw a lot of great feedback from that, great suggestions on why don't we do more of that. So we're actually going to do 4 cities this year. And we're going to continue doing this and have this as something we continue to grow. So 2 of them are going to happen in Seattle and Pittsburgh in Q3. And as you all know, September, our 2019 DevFest season for North America. Q4, again, more machine learning and AI summits, and we're going to have our WTM summit. So this is really good. We actually have more details on this, and the idea is we're going to give you the dates and whatnot from that point. Now, this talk was to kind of give an overview and also to have an opportunity for all of you to ask fundamental or basic questions about what we're doing in North America. So now I really wanted to open it up to all of you and see if there are any questions. We have mics set up, so if you can just grab a mic just so for recording purposes and so everyone else in the room can hear you. So we're going to have, and they're coming with the mics right now. Any questions, please? Yes, just getting a mic right there.
Okay, so I'm a new organizer, and I get the GDG. I don't understand the cloud and the enterprise. So I see Gdg Cloud and Gdg Enterprise. So if you could give me an explanation, that would be great.
Sure. So Gdg as a program covers all technologies across Google. And so we're really happy with that because as one program, we can actually talk to all the different product teams and we can share content for all different product types. Gdg Cloud is similar. It's a subset of Gdg. It is similar to Gdg, but it is a community group that's created specifically to only talk about cloud. And so as a GDG, you can talk about any technology you want. And a lot of the GDGs already talk primarily about cloud. And this is where there was a focused effort on, okay, well, let's create a subset that is focused just on cloud and recognized as such. And this is something that a lot of people ask this question. When we had done this, there was a question on this. Well, why did you do this? And now where does this end? Are there going to be more GDGs per technology or so on? Cloud is a beast. So cloud, being as big as cloud is, and cloud, the focus and the questions that we keep getting on cloud, the recognition piece is also there because people, we actually used analytics. We looked at data that said when people are searching for product types and technology, when they're looking for community help, they had actually tied in community help and cloud. So where can I find a cloud group? And they weren't seeing necessarily all the GDG groups. In some cases, a lot of the GDG groups did tag cloud as a technology of focus, but they didn't see it in the name, and then that started raising some alarm bells. It's like, okay, can I get help on cloud? And this is where, like, hey, if you primarily talk about cloud, if you're interested in doing more specific to cloud, then let's create you as a Gdg Cloud chapter. And so that's on the cloud side. The enterprise piece, this is something that's fairly new. So as a new organizer, you may not know, as a lot of people who are organizers for a longer period of time, they also don't know it. And it's something that's in its infancy right now. We're basically seeing, and this is all, our brainstorming exercise, and really this is, as a trusted group, we can actually share more information about this, that the way that we have set up Gdg communities, is there a way to do something similar, support groups, and a method to the madness within an enterprise itself? There are large enterprises, let's say a very large company that internally to their employees wants to be able to train them on certain technologies. Well, what if we established some sort of program that gave them that opportunity? That, you know what, we're going to push content to you as an enterprise to share with your employees as needed. If you feel that we want to go into, let's use cloud as an example, we're contemplating implementing GCP. We don't know enough about it. Hey, how about we push enough content? It's very different than the sales team talking to them about adoption and doing any sort of conversion. It's very focused on learning and training and making sure everyone's aware. And so this is something that we're trying to get a better handle on and working through, and we're doing a different, we call it dogfight, like beta tests and whatnot on this program. So that's Gdg Cloud and Enterprise. Excellent. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joseph West from Gdg Cloud Boston. First off, great events we've got this year that happened last year. Clearly, a big push being made and working with the community. You showed some great statistics from last year to this year. Well, from 2017 to 18, a lot of progress there. With all the initiatives and sponsorship for this year, what key metrics are you going to look at to see that 2019 was successful?
Yeah, thank you. So one of the key pieces that we had highlighted there atop of the actual growth numbers was the number of developers we reached. So when we say we had reached over 10,000 developers, we want to increase that. And not just through the Gdg program, but across all our community efforts. So when we're reaching out through our student programs, reaching out through a lot of our startup initiatives, we want to impact and touch as many lives as possible. And so the reach is going to be a big thing. Another piece that, and again, this is something that Jen's going to talk about, is there's a lot of work that's done. And you all are a testament to all the work that's done. How much visibility does it get? Sure, within your communities, you kind of see it. But we also want to say that, okay, can we push a better brand push? Can we make sure that the brand is acknowledged, recognized, it's visible? Is there more that we can do on that front? So from a marketing perspective, that when we talk to someone off the street or not part of, let's say, our community, and we say, oh, you know what, I do something on Gdg, and they have no idea what that is. Also, it's community effort. I still don't know what you're talking about. What can we do on that? So 2019, there will be a big push. When we were talking about stories, we were talking about inspiring folks. How do we push those stories out? How do we get more people to know, you know what, someone came to a community group and this is what they learned and this is what they did with their life and this is now where they are. We want to push a lot of those stories. So when we talk about developers reach, but really pushing on the brand as well is something that we're trying hard to do for 2019. And that's for us will be really the measure of success.
Gotcha, thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to go on this side.
Hey, Naveem.
Hey.
Mark, Gdg Denver, Gdg Cloud Denver. In the past, we've talked about the funding and how far it comes in front of events, and that's been a big push at summits to push the funding out. Some events we get funding 2 to 3 months in advance. For IO Extended 2019, we got about 6 weeks which was dramatically shorter than years past. Are we trying to de-emphasize the importance of IO extended events, or is this a trend we're going to see going forward with shorter visibility into funding for events?
Great question. So no, we're not trying to devalue the importance of any of the events. It was the funding, or a lot of pieces actually went hand in hand with the fact that we didn't have the timelines of when we're doing what. So now with us having the calendar set up with the timelines, when I said I'm actually going to share the timelines of when all these things are happening, with that we are also going to be sharing, okay, this is the funding that's going to be associated. So for example, we had, when we talked about DevFest, before in the past we didn't share the funding details. We're sharing it way in advance. Similar with IO Extended. Nothing about devaluing it at all. We're going to share the timelines, we're going to share the funding, and do it well in advance so that all of you can plan accordingly. One thing I will add though, and something that we do try to de-emphasize the fact that we should not be the only sponsor for a lot of the things you do. And so yes, we're providing funding, but part of being an organizer is reaching out to see, okay, are there other sponsors out there that could provide support of any kind, whether it's speakers, whether it's food, whether it's actual cash, whatever it is. And so we do sometimes say, let's make sure that everyone's not just sitting and saying, okay, well, when Google provides that they're going to get X dollars, then we're going to go ahead and do our event. You should be trying to get dollars across the board through sponsorship as well.
So are you suggesting that organizers should be prepared to run events without any Google funding? Because practically the way it works in Denver, we do have other sponsors and we use them in addition to Google, but Google is like half of the budget. So we would have a very different event and would secure different venue space and do the ticketing differently, what we're going to promise to our attendees, et cetera.
And I should be clear on that. There is no intention of pulling any of our funding out. We're not going to be like, oh, you're going to do IO Extended, but we're not funding it right now.
So I just want to make sure that you and other leadership people understand that it's difficult for, at least in Denver, 6 weeks out isn't really as good as 2 to 3 months out as we've had in the past. So and certainly Google I/O, the date was known with 2 to 3 months visibility.
Right.
So it'd be super. When you said that you're going to share the schedule later, did you mean for IO 2020? Or do you mean for IO 2019? We already know the funding.
I wouldn't have my job if I was talking about 2020. Definitely. No, 2019. We're going to share all that. So after the summit, we're going to share the dates. And this is actually a really good point. I don't think we were thinking of sharing it at the same time, but it makes sense completely that we're also going to share the funding details with the dates. So right after the summit, we're actually going to provide all that.
And we really do appreciate the funding.
Yeah. Good call, good call. Excellent.
Cool. Thanks. So I know that there's Gdg Cloud, there's Gdg Enterprise. Does it make sense to restructure an existing Gdg? Because, for example, in Chicago, we have now 5 organizers. And while we may not be a cloud community, a lot of our events, because we do multiple events a month, some of them are cloud focused, some of them are WTM. We have a wide variety of topics. Does it make sense to restructure to cover that scope, or does I don't know? I'm just curious.
Great question. Thank you for asking that. We are open to all that. We definitely we tried to, again, as I was talking about brand this year, I want to make sure that we don't fragment so much that the brand also gets diluted. But I want to make sure that we do what's right for the community. As you mentioned, you have 5 organizers there. If it's such a large community, if everything is cloud-based, does it make sense? Well, maybe we should split up into 2 and have one that's cloud-focused, one that's not, and so on, if that makes sense. Or if it still makes sense, no, let's just make it a very cohesive, this is Gdg Chicago, and these are all the things we're talking about, and let's go at it. And the really good thing about, I think Jen going after me is she can actually take these questions and try to address this in her slides. She's probably furiously working on some of those slides right now. So it's great. So it's really convenient. So thank you for asking that. But yes. Yes.
So my question is regarding the DevFest season, September mostly, because that's where the budget is. But I was wondering, did you consider other conferences that we might be competing with, or having kind of an event around the same dates or another conference in our region? Because that would make it even sort of tougher. Like for us in Orlando, we figured out that January was ideal because of the school, summer, winter, north, warm weather down, and so this will make it an impact on that sense. But also the idea of competing, like who are we competing with at that time, and not as a competition kind of in the sense of like them, but people that schedule their conference dollars are going to this conference or that conference, that sort of thing.
Great point. And it's interesting because we had this conversation. I mean, Kyle's probably like fuming right now. It's like, I said this. We have this as a problem. And we agree. We acknowledge that there are challenges when you have such a small window, that there are other conferences you're competing against. There are other events that we can't do it at this time because now I would hope that, yes, there's other conferences, but it may not take the entire month. There'll still be a window of opportunity there, but I get it. I mean, September especially, there's back to school.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, that's a hard time in the beginning of September. A lot of people from a professional speak working or just having kids and getting them there. There's other conferences, and there are certain regions. I'm going to emphasize this again, that I really would like everyone to focus on being during that period of time that we say. If there is an extenuating circumstance or so, we have options. If it goes beyond that, talk to us. Yeah. Talk to us. Let us know what the situation is, why you're getting into a certain situation. As people have attested many times, we have trouble saying no sometimes. And so we can accommodate accordingly. But the season is what it is. We're going to accommodate as much as we can, and we're just going to see how we can help everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
But thank you. It's a great point. Right. Scott.
On the subject of growing a new GDG,
Yes.
promotion and attracting people, I'm sure a lot of others are running into the same situation that we are in Cleveland, where the community is already fragmented into 1,000 pieces. There are meetups for everything out there, from blockchain to .NET. I think there's an artificial intelligence meetup for dog washing services. I mean, it's crazy. So trying to reach all of these people, I mean, I've already spammed all the leaders of all the meetups like crazy. So what I'm wondering is there any budget for that kind of promotion, whereas either newspaper advertisements or even better, geo-targeted YouTube ads on tutorials? You hit geo-targeted YouTube ads for any kind of tutorials in Cloud, in Flutter, in Android. And also, if we don't have the budget for it, Google owns YouTube. Maybe there's a little something there that you do a little horse trading.
How do you argue that point, right? Thank you. Thank you for the question. And it's we've actually heard this a few times about, is there budget that can be put aside specifically for marketing or promotions? Because it's something we have a challenge with. We're actually trying to have more one-on-one conversations with the different teams. Like, well, how are you planning to do the marketing? How are you planning to do the promotion? What are some alternatives that we can look at? I'm not going to say no, we're not going to go down this path of putting budget aside specifically for that. What I would say is that if you find yourself in a situation, let's have a conversation. Like you and I, we spoke during a community dinner a little bit about this. We could talk some more about some options. Let's have that one-on-one conversation. There's an opportunity. What we can also do is like certain funding that we have set aside for, let's just per head to run the event. We can say, well, what if we carved out a bit of this and did it with promotion? How far can that dollar go? We can have those conversations. I love creative problem solving, so let's try to solve this problem and kind of make a creative solution for it as well. But the answer, if anyone was thinking that they're just going to say, no, we're not going to do any funding for marketing or budgeting or promotion, that's not the answer. The answer is let's have some more conversations and figure out a way to do it well. Thank you. Now, I'm just doing a time check, but yes, go ahead. I think I have 2 more minutes. Go ahead.
So my question is, so I did feel like Google was very liberal, or it felt very forgiving when it comes to how we spend our budget. What we have done was that we have spent some of the budget in one event and spent it in other smaller, more community-driven events for ourselves. Does Google really care that much if I spend some of the budget on some other topics or some other events that's not sanctioned by Google?
Yeah. So I will say this. I mean, I mean, if you got money to spend it on an IWD event, and then you decide to take it from that and spend it on another event, we have a term called googly at work. It's not very googly. That said, what we do want to assess is that there have been situations, and I'll give you a good example. I think it was in New York, that we provide a certain amount of funding for a certain event, and they realized that based on the people that ended up finalizing to come or whatnot, they didn't spend all that money. And they realized, well, since we got this, we weren't able to spend it. Can we spend some of this extra that's surplus on this other event? And this is how it's going to help the community. And this is what we're going to spend it on, like a very detailed breakdown of it. We were fine with that. We were sanctioning that. I wouldn't want to set this up as a habit that you're getting money for one event and you go off and spend it on another event. And we are being more mindful as well on, money is money, but where it's going and how we're spending it. And we want all of us to work together on that. Not just something that, Google's up there and kind of saying, okay, this is what you're going to do with it, but you tell us what makes sense for the community. If you have a great story of this is why we want to do this and this is how we're going to spend it, we can set that up and we can work through that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, you know what? One more. Thank you. And I thought
it's real short. Ben from Chicago, GDG. Hi. You had mentioned fundraising as part of our thing, which, it's me, Joel, and some others. Like, it's fine doing that, but there's a lot of the new people that we bring on. They're very uncomfortable going out getting funds. So perhaps you could do some training, as like you're doing the training for the speaker events, but how to fundraise and how to go and ask for money. Yeah.
Great.
Because when we go fundraise, we fundraise within our company, but some people are asking potentially new bosses, people that could give them jobs, so it's a little awkward. Yeah.
It's a great point, and thank you for sharing that. It is something that we should provide more training on, more material for, and we can. We actually have a section planned for the new GDGs on talking about doing exactly that. But and it sounds like there's a consensus here that this is not just for new GDG organizers, but everyone would like this type of content, we will share it across the board. So thank you. I'm way over time. So I've gotten everyone kind of nodding their head at me, and I was ignoring everyone for a while. So my apologies, and thank you. Have a blast for the rest of the summit, and we'll be talking throughout the whole summit. So thank you. All right.